What's happening, beautiful people? I hope you are well. I'm your maths coach and welcome to my YouTube channel. Factorizing is the opposite of expanding brackets. So you're looking at the expression and you're looking for the highest common factor between the terms, and which you're going to take outside and then put some brackets in there. Now, the highest common factor could be numbers and also variables, which we would be looking at with the examples that I've got planned for you today. A common mistake that students often make is that they don't factorize fully. So they do factorize, but they don't take out the highest common factors between the terms, and they end up losing marks. So I will show you today how you can avoid this and what kind of steps that you need to take when you are factorizing. So stay tuned, guys. Before we go any further, we need to establish and understand what is meant by a factor. Okay, now a factor is a number that goes into another number. Okay, so remember this. So if I was looking for example, if I was looking for the factors of 12, I'm looking for all the numbers that go into 12. Now I like to do this in a systematic way. I like to do it like this. So 1 times 12. So 1 times 12, these are the two numbers that make 12. Okay, so therefore 1 is a factor of 12 and 12 is a factor of 12. Also you have 2 and 6. So 2 times by 6 gives you 12. 2 is a factor of 12. 6 is a factor of 12. They both go into 12. Okay, 6 goes into 12 twice, and 2 goes into 12 6 times. What else do we have? We also have 3 and 4. 3 times 4 gives you 12. 3 goes into 12 4 times, and 4 goes into 12 3 times. So these are all the factors of 12. Now what you could do at this stage is you can also write them in order now. So 1, 2, 3, you got 4 here, then you got 6, and you got 12. So these are all the factors of 12. Okay, and that's just an example. You could do another one. You could do, for example, the factors of 20. Okay, so try to find the factors of 20 yourself, and I'll do it, and then you can pause the video and compare your answers with mine. Okay, so what you should have got now is 1 and 20. You could have 2 and 10, 4 and 5. So 1, 20, 2, 10, 4, 5. So the factors of 20 are 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, and 20. These are all the factors of 20. When we are factorizing and we are looking for the common factors, we are looking for the highest common factor. You need to remember that, okay? So if I was looking for the highest common factor between 20 and 12, what would you say it is? Now, both of them have 1, okay? But it's not the highest. Both of them have 2. That's also not the highest. What is the highest? If you notice, both of them have a 4. So what we can say is that 4 is the highest common factor between the two, and therefore that's what we will look for if we were to find the highest common factor between them. So now that the basic has been established of what a factor is, let's now go and factorize expressions. All right, so behind me here, we've got two examples. We've got 3x plus 9 and x squared minus 5x. Now, another thing that you need to also know and be aware of is how to deal with powers. Okay, now refer to my video that I've done on indices and you'll get an overview of that. But a quick reminder for you is when you have x to the power of a times by x to the power of b, what do we do with the powers? We add the two powers. So we do a plus b. Okay, and here in terms of an example, if we have x squared and x cubed, we will add the two powers, so we get x to the power of 5. So please remember that, okay? If you need a refresher on that course, then please refer to my video on the rules of indices, okay? All right, so we've got 3x plus 9. The first thing that we want to do is put in a bracket, and we will use single brackets here. Later on in the video that I do on quadratic factorization, I'll explain when we need to use two brackets, okay? But for this one, we'll have a single bracket. Now, what's the highest common factor between 3 and 9? That's what we're looking for. If you refer to the exercise that I've done previously, we were writing down the factors of 20 and 12, and then we found the highest common factor between them, right? So here we'll do the same thing. So 3 and 9, okay, what's the highest number that goes into them? Now 1 goes in to 3 and 1 goes into 9, okay? 3 goes into 3, of course, and 3 also goes into 9. And there's nothing else in common that they have. So 3 is the number that we will take out. So now we look at the variable. Now this one has an x and this one has nothing. So they have no variable that is common between them, okay? So we can't take a variable outside the bracket. Now we'll begin to write down what needs to go inside that bracket, okay? Now we want to do 3 times something here to give us 3x. So if we write down an x, 3 times x gives us 3x. Next, 3 times something just to give us a 9. So we want 3 times 3 to give us a 9. So if you notice here, we have 3 outside the bracket and then x plus 3 inside the bracket. And that is factorize, okay? Why? We can check this by multiplying out and we should get the answer that's up here, okay? Now, moving on to this one. This time round, between the numbers, there is no common factor, okay? So we won't take out any of the numbers. However, if you look at the letters here, this one's got an x squared and this one's just got x, okay? Remember the power here is 1. So we can take out an x because that's the minimum that they have between them, okay? That's the minimum they have between them. And then we begin by putting down our bracket. So what do we have here? What we're going to put down here, because we want to have an x squared when this is multiplied with whatever's there. We want to have this value here. So if we write an x here, we'll do x times x, which is x squared. Now remember I said to you just earlier on about the rules of indices. The power here is 1 and the power here is 1. So you will add the 1 and the 1 and that's how you get x squared. Okay? Right, moving on to this one. So the sign here is going to be a negative, okay, because this one's a positive. Okay, so positive times a negative will give us the overall negative sign. Now we want to have 5x. So x times by what will give us 5x. Of course, it's going to be 5 because x times by 5 is 5x. And this is factorize. So we have factorized both of our expressions here. All right. So next on to these two, we've got 8x squared plus 20x, right? So between the two numbers, what's the highest number that goes into both 8 and 20, all right? So 4 comes to mind. So 4 goes into 8 twice and 4 goes into 20 5 times. So we can take out a 4. Now, before we commit to writing 4, just check that nothing else goes into 8 and 20, okay? Now, of course, there are other numbers, like for example, 8 goes into 8, but 8 doesn't go into 20, so that's why we can't use 8. So 4 is the number that goes into both of them, okay? And it happens to be the highest common number that goes into both of them. Right, now between the letters, we have x squared here, and we have just x here. Remember the power here is 1. Okay, when there's nothing written down, that means the power is 1. So the minimum power between the two terms that they have is 1. X to the power of 1. Okay, so we can take out x. Next, we can start writing our bracket now. And we need something here that will multiply with the 4x to give us 8x squared. Now, first of all, focus on the number 8. Okay, how do you get 8? So 4 times something should give you 8, right? So 4 times 2 will give you 8. But we want an x squared. So we will also need to add an x here. Now, if you look at this, 4x times by 2x gives us 8x squared. 4 times 2 is 8. X times x is x squared. Okay? Moving on to the 20x. Now, we don't need an x here, do we? Because we've already got an x here, okay? So we just need to get the number 20. Now, the sign's going to be positive. So 4 times what? 4 times 5 gives us 20, and that is fully factorized. A tip here that I want to share with you is that if you look inside the bracket, you should find that there's nothing in common. There is nothing in common between the two terms. You see, 2 and 5? There's no number that goes into 2 and 5. X and no x here, so there's nothing in common. If you find that there is something still in common here, that means you haven't fully factorized, and you have to look at what you've taken outside, because that has not been the correct thing that you've taken outside. Okay, so that's just something to be mindful of. Now moving on to 9x squared y plus 15x y squared. Between the two numbers, what do we have? We know that 3 goes into 9 and 15, and it's the highest number that goes into 9 and 15. So we're going to take the 3 out. Now, we've got x squared and we've got x. What do we need to take out here? We take out just one x. Okay, why? Because this one has two x's if you like, and this one just has one. So between the two, they only have one. That's like a minimum between them. Okay, now you've got the y here and you've got y squared. Once again, they have a minimum of 1y between them. Okay, and there we begin our bracket now. So 3xy outside the bracket times by something inside the bracket now to give us all of this, the first term. Right, so 3 times what to give us 9? 3. We want x squared, so are we going to add x here or not? Yes, we are. We are going to add an x here because we want x times x to give us x squared. However, do we need to add any y here? No, we won't. We won't need to add a y because we've already got y, and we only need y to the power of 1. We don't need y squared or anything like that, okay? So that's good because 3xy times by 3x gives us all of this. Next, we move on to the next term here. Okay, so 3xy times by something here should give us all of this. Again, start on the number first. Do it systematically, okay? No rush. So 3 times what gives us 15? 3 times 5 gives us 15. Do we want an x included here? No, we don't, because we've already got an x here and we only need x to the power of 1. So when that multiplies, that will give us that anyway, okay? Y times something should give us y squared. Y times y will give us that y squared. So if you look at this now, this is fully factorized. And earlier on I said in this example that there should be nothing in common here inside that bracket. If you find anything that's in common, if you find something that's common in there, then that means you've done something wrong and you need to go back to what you've taken outside. Now, I'm going to leave these for you to do, okay, completely. Pause the video here and do it yourself on a piece of paper and then I'll go through it with you. Okay, so let's go through them now. We've got 24b squared c cubed minus 8c. So the first thing is the numbers. So 24 and 8, the highest common factor that goes into them is 8. We've got b squared here. We have no b here, so we can't include b outside that bracket. Okay. C cubed and c. So the minimum is at least 1c. So we can take out 1c. Now there's nothing else. I think we've taken everything in common outside. So we can now open the bracket up. So we want 24. So 8 times 3 will give us the 24. We want b squared. Now because there was no b outside, we have to include all of b squared inside the bracket so that when it multiplies, it gives us that b squared. C, we want c cubed here. So we've already got one of those. So we'll add c squared inside. So therefore, c to the power of 1, when we multiply with this c squared here, we'll add the 2 powers and we'll get the c cubed. All right? So negative sign here. Now we want just 8c. Now we've already got 8c outside the bracket. So what do we do in here that 8c times by something should give us 8c? Well, it's simply to add a 1 here, because 8c times by 1 will give us 8c. If you look at this one now, so between all of these numbers, what's the most common number that goes outside of the bracket? Now, it could have been 4, okay, because you know 16 and 8, 4 goes into both of them, but it doesn't go into 2, so you can't take out 4, unfortunately, okay? So it's 2. 2 goes into 8, 2 goes into 16, and 2 goes into itself, and 2 is the highest common factor between all 3 numbers. So it's 2 that comes out here. Now in terms of the x here, we've got x squared, we've got 1x here, we've got x cubed here. So the minimum between all 3 terms is at least 1x. Okay, it's because of this one, you can't take out, you know, x squared, for example, okay? Now, in terms of y, this is minimum 1y, y squared, y cubed. So once again, 1y outside that bracket, okay? So now we begin our bracket inside. We are going to have our three terms, one there, one there, one there, to give us, when multiplied with all of this, all of that, okay? So 2 times by what gives us 16? 2 times by 8 gives us 16. Now we want an x squared, so we're going to add 1x here. Now we won't need to add a y here because we've got the y outside and we only need y to the power of 1. So that is done. Next, we move on to this term. So we've got 2 times something here to give us 8. 2 times 4 gives us 8. Again, we don't need to do anything with the x's because the x is already outside. It's going to multiply here and give us 1x. However, we do want a y squared. So we've got 1y outside. So we need to include another one here. So y times y gives us that y squared. Move on to the final term. We want the plus here because we want a positive value. Okay. Now, we don't need to do anything for the 2 because 2 is already outside here. Okay. And we want that 2 just to remain as 2. However, when it comes to the x cubed, we want x times something to give us x cubed, and that's going to be x squared. Once again, with the y, it's going to be similar. So y times by something to give us y cubed, and it's going to be y squared once again. So if you check this now, 2xy times by 8x should give you this. 2xy times by minus 4y should give you all of that. And 2xy times by x squared, y squared should give you all of that. Moving on to the third one down here. Okay, so now look at the numbers. Okay, look at the numbers. There is nothing here that we can take out in terms of a number. It's because of this one once again. Okay, this term has let the side down, let down the expression if you like. Okay, so we can't take anything out of the numbers here. Okay. Now, in terms of letters, yes, we can take out letters. We've got a to the power of 5, a to the power of 4, and just a to the power of 1. So, although these are very high powers of a, we can only take out the minimum of 1a. Okay. So, we'll take out 1a here. We've got b squared, we've got b to the power of 5, and we've got b to the power of 3. What's the minimum b that we can take out? We can take out b to the power of 2. So, there b squared here. Okay, I don't want them to look like they're joined up. Okay, and there is nothing else. So now we can begin our bracket and we can have our 3 terms in here to, when we multiply out with this, it will give us all of that. So let's start with the 16a to the power of 5 b squared. Because there's no number outside here, guys, we are going to have to add the whole 16 down here. We want a to the power of 5, so we're going to do a to the power of 4 here, because a to the power of 1 times a to the power of 4. We add the powers, and then we get a to the power of 5. In terms of b squared, we don't need to do anything else. We can leave this as it is because we've already got b squared outside. Right, moving on to the second term, so minus. So we want a to the power of 4, so we're going to do a to the power of 3. So when it multiplies with the a to the power of 1 here, it gives us a to the power of 4. In terms of b to the power of 5, we've already got b squared outside, so we will add b cubed. So that when we add the powers, it will give us b to the power of 5. Final term, let me extend this out a little bit. Okay, so we want an 8 here. So once again, there's no value outside here. There is a 1 outside here, an imaginary 1 if you like. Okay, and that is going to be multiplying. So we're going to add an 8 here. Okay, and we want an a here, so we don't need to add a there. b to the power of 2, so we want b to the power of 3, so we'll add 1b, and that's it. Now we will check to make sure that there's nothing in common inside. Okay, now just check. So here's 16, there's a 1 here, there's an 8 here, so there's nothing in common between 16, 1 and 8, although 1 is common, but we don't take that one out. Okay, a to the power of 4, a to the power of 3, there's no a, so there's nothing in common. Just to give you an example, had there been an a here, for example, okay, then we'd say, right, hold on a minute, a to the power of 4, a to the power of 3, and a. The minimum a that's common between them is a to the power of 1, and then we would have had to take that a outside. But there isn't, okay, because we have fully factorized, okay? And with the b's, it's the same thing, so b cubed and one B here. This doesn't have a B, so there's nothing in common. Hope that makes sense to you guys, and I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Next, we will be looking at quadratic factorizing, so stay tuned for that one. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please share with your friends and family if you found this beneficial, and please help the channel to grow. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.